Hello, Life Outside podcast listeners and viewers. It's Dani again. Last winter, when everyone in the country was under some sort of winter storm warning, the Mojave Desert was no exception. I spent a few nights waiting out the storm in the Mojave National Preserve. The person I was traveling with was recovering from a pretty bad migraine, so I had a few days pretty much to myself. I recorded a podcast, I wrote a lot, and of course I caught the sunsets and the sunrises. But even out in the Mojave, the weather was pretty bad. It was windy and cold, and even though it looks beautiful, trust me, it was much more comfortable holing up inside of my car. The Mojave National Preserve was established on October 31st, 1994. Prior to that, it had been known as the East Mojave National Scenic Area and was under BLM land jurisdiction. At 1,542,776 acres, it is the third largest unit of the national park system in the contiguous United States. The elevation spans from 880 feet, which is 270 meters, to 7,929 feet, which is 2417 meters. The temperatures in the winter range from a high of 71 degrees Fahrenheit or 22 degrees Celsius to a low of 29.5 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 1.4 Celsius. In the summertime, lows are 90 degrees Fahrenheit or 32 degrees Celsius, and highs are 105 degrees Fahrenheit or 41 degrees Celsius. One of my favorite winter mornings was this one right here. It was really cold and windy, and I could see rain in the distance. I walked out further past where we were camped, and I got rewarded with these gorgeous views. But it was cold, and it was raining, which no big deal, of course. Except I suppose it is kind of a big deal for the Mojave, which only gets 3.37 inches of rain or precipitation each year. In higher elevations, that's up to 9 inches, but we were at the pretty low point. We were camped in the southern section of the Mojave National Preserve, just off Calabaker Road and just north of Interstate 40. We even had cell service, and that's how I was able to record the podcast. But getting to see moments like this and beautiful things like this are a big reason why I pursue a life outside as often as I do. But being out in conditions like this in nature isn't the easiest, and I honestly did spend a lot of time hunkered down in my car, staying warm and drinking coffee and tea and hot broths, reading and writing, and just pretty much waiting for the sunrises and sunsets. And in no way am I complaining. I'm happiest out in places like this, living my life outside and getting to just focus on my art and nature, even though sometimes the days seem long and cold and tough. The simplicity of life outside and the beauty of nature is what keeps me going, even when I'm in the city. In fact, I suspect that the person I'd been traveling with didn't love it as much as I did, but I loved it so much that I returned not to this specific place, but to the Mojave National Preserve a few more times during the winter and spring. And I'm glad that I did. I'm glad that I had the time to be out there. It's a special place. I recommend that you go if you can. But take the time. Just don't rush through it. Thank you as always for listening and watching. And I hope that you get some time outside. And I'll see you next time. Or outside.